Evening, welcome to a Melton Law Monday. Buddy Martin, a couple minutes late with you. Standing by the green room is our man, the QB, Shane Mathews. We're going to wrap up what happened. Big news today, coaching changes. Stand by. The Buddy Martin Show is about to be on the air. Tell your friends and neighbors, come join us.
Him up and tell him what you're thinking, but be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Evening and welcome to a Melton Law Monday. It's the final show of the year about the 2023 season. We think, as far as we know, but never know about these bowl games. But let's get right to the matter of the day, which big news in Gainesville, coaching changes, 2 coaches leaving the staff, Sean Spencer and Corey Brewer. So let's go to the orange and blue room and talk to the man who is up every morning bright and early, doing stuff about all sports. That would be my buddy Shane Mathews. Evening to you, Shane.
Hey, buddy, we're not going to a bowl game. They already got everything, all the bowls filled.
Do
out.
they? Okay, well, good. Thanks for updating me, because last night they were saying there's still a 5-7 possibility. That was what they were saying. The big guys.
There's one team in the country that will go at 5-7. That's Minnesota.
Yeah. Other than the practices they would have gotten, in a way, it's a kind of a mercy killing. I don't know about you, Shane. I do want to talk about the game in depth and the feeling about it and the season, because we've been doing this all year. Obviously, didn't meet our expectations. We were a little bit optimistic. As I was thinking about this, I'm thinking, what happened? You got to win the close games. And when you're leading a team, one of the top 5 teams in the country, with 6 minutes to go, you got to find a way to win the game, and that's what Billy said in his press conference. They have not learned how to close out teams, Shane. Well, that falls right at his feet. So let me stop right there. Give me your thoughts. I didn't get to hear you much on the game on Saturday. The Wi-Fi wasn't working good, but I know it had to be a frustrating night for you to watch and to be so close. Again, terrific effort, but not good enough.
No, we had our chances. A couple plays here or there really hurt us. We were somewhat handcuffed offensively. Trouble blocking their front four. They have a tremendous front four, especially 2 defensive ends, edge rushers that really got after us. And they put 7 into coverage, took most of our passing game away. Max was not very accurate for the most part. And then defensively played well early, and then Florida State started picking up our blitz, and we couldn't get to the quarterback, and he made a few plays, and it was a very disappointing game, kind of a microcosm of the entire season, quite honestly.
Yeah, it was. Your assessment of the season now, we know the 3rd straight losing season, only 2 of them were Billy's fault, but a program that, as I wrote once, boasted about 3 national championships, now to live with the fact that it's failed on 3 consecutive seasons, not something you're accustomed to when you helped change the culture here in 1990 and won all those SEC championships. It's a different feeling and hard to digest for many of us. So patience is the order of the day, but Shane, it's going to be hard to be real patient. We're going to see a lot of body swapping. It's already started. We've seen coaching changes. Where it all lands, I don't know, but I got that good class coming in. But, you got to have something probably you can put on the field now, and it's likely that freshmen can change everything. Where do we go from here, Shane?
Only time will tell. Don't have the answers. We're way behind. We're way behind of being prominent in the Southeastern Conference. I don't know what it's going to take, how to get there, because people can say, go build your team in the portal. I get it. I agree with that, but we're not the only team going to the portal. Mm-hmm. Other players are going to do. Other coaches are going to go after players too. So I'm just really disappointed in the entire season. I still can't believe this team didn't win 7 or 8 games, but they didn't. They found ways to lose them.
Looked to me like in the end, you got a maximum effort out of your team, although there were some undisciplined things that happened in that game, especially the second half. You get the maximum effort. First half, best half they played all year long collectively, and certainly the defense played lights out. You're up on the number 5 team in the nation with 6 minutes to go. You don't get it done. It seems to me, it felt like, and I wrote this, that they got the maximum effort. They played as good as they could in the end, although I know you didn't have a high opinion of FSU necessarily. They didn't have the talent to stand toe-to-toe with them in the last 6 minutes.
Well, their players made plays at the end, and we had opportunities. It was when we were down a little bit, we threw 3 straight passes and then punted, and they drove down and put the game away. As much as I like to throw it, I probably wouldn't have thrown it in those situations because we had no plays in the passing game that night. Look, you can sit here and dissect it however you want. Just a bad year.
Yeah, 3 bad years. Shane, let's talk about some calls, some plays. A lot of people didn't like the double reverse he ran. Did you have issues with the play calling?
0. I even said on the broadcast when we returned that kickoff, I said we need to go with a reverse or something right here. If it works, nobody's saying a damn thing about it. Nobody talks about the plays that work, buddy. They only talk about the plays that don't work. The double reverse I had no problem with. I thought we were going to throw it deep, but we actually we're trying to set up a screen, which I have an issue with that. But look, we spit in somebody's face. We do dumb stuff.
Yeah, who did that? I know somebody didn't get that penalized. You know who it was?
Yeah, it was Lions, I think.
Lions?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you call that on the air?
Did you know that? In the guy's face?
Yeah, you didn't know it, right?
No, it's all a replay. It was all over TV.
I didn't see the. Well, I don't have a good TV in the press box. It's lousy up there. You can't see anything. So it was on replay.
Yeah, the game was 12-0 at that point, and it was either third down. We'd stopped them. They're getting ready to punt again, but they got the 15-yard penalty, and they go down and score. So, look, we ain't good enough to overcome a lot of things that we do, and we didn't tackle well in the second half at all. We had no offense in the second half. We couldn't block them. Their 2 defensive ends are outstanding, and they basically control the game.
Jabari Lyons, you talking about?
Yeah.
6'3" and a half, 305 freshman defensive lineman from Cocoa. So that's who it was. Well, anyway, that's not good. All right, so of all the things that happened, look, I wrote about it, took a little different tact at the end about it, talking about sitting there in the cold press box, thinking about how many nights I've sat in that press box, how many ends of seasons I've seen, watching what was happening on the field. Everybody was gone, all 90,000. The media was in the press box, was in the locker room. I was not, or the press conference, and listening to the FSU band play. Now, as bad as that may sound, I must say they are a spectacular band. That was the only thing we heard. I sat there in that cold press box and think, is this what Florida football's come to? Is this, look, you can't blame them. They've just beaten their rival to go undefeated. And now Florida's looking at a 3rd straight losing season. So they're celebrating. It's a bad time to have a bad year when your chief rival is undefeated and likely going to the playoffs. So everybody's saying, can Billy get it done? How long will he have, Shane? Will he have the whole season? What if he comes out of the box at 2-4? Whatever. It's a tough schedule. I didn't think Jimbo Fisher would be fired, but look what happened out in Texas.
I don't know what's going to happen.
What should happen?
Well, hopefully we win games. I mean, add some good players, coach better, add new coaches that coach better, and see what happens. I mean, none of us have the answers. No matter what we think about play calling, this coach, that player, none of us have any decision making going on.
But we have to answer questions. You do it every day, and I do it every day.
Yeah, and I give my opinion. I mean, Billy's going to be here next year, and I said he's going to make changes. He made 2 today, and I think there's going to be many, many more coming.
Were you surprised at Corey Raymond?
No.
Did you see that coming?
Well, buddy, everybody that calls your show says we can't cover anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that calls your show says we can't rush the passer or stop the run.
Mm-hmm.
That's D-line, and secondary. And I think there'll be more, honestly.
No doubt. And we have already talked about the fact the coaches on the staff, the analysts we don't know anything about, the question of quality of the analysts. And now the results are clear. They're not getting it done. Some heads have got to roll. Have you heard anything about Rob Sale?
I haven't heard anything. I didn't even know those guys got fired until somebody texted me and said it was on Twitter.
Edgar Thompson broke the story of the Sentinel, yeah. For those who don't know and haven't heard, we should probably tell them, maybe turning on the program for the first time. Sean Spencer, Corey Raymond, we don't know exactly. Look, maybe they went on their own. Maybe they had a better deal. I don't know. It's part of the company with Billy. And, of course, Spencer was the defensive line coach for the Giants. And so he was the defensive line coach at Penn State. So he has a resume. His contract was set to expire into January. Now, Florida also says Rob Sale, Darnell Stapleton, Jabbar Jaluki, Jay Bateman, and Mike Peterson on contracts that expire in end of January 2024. So clearly there will be some changes. What would you like to see? We discussed this 100 times. You think the play calling's okay. You think the special teams, you don't have a problem with special teams. I do.
Well, it's not that I don't have a problem with it. I think people don't understand that every coach that has a headset on, all 10 guys that you just mentioned, are part of special teams. So does it need to be addressed? Absolutely it does.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me disagree with you on it. Let's agree on this for a second, okay? Go ahead.
That?
The guy who was had the best special teams ever at the University of Florida was Urban Meyer.
I agree. I'm not arguing with that. But Urban, all the assistants helped Urban with special teams. Urban didn't do it by himself.
Hang on. He was the special teams coach and claimed it. It was his and you know why it was important? Because he had the power to move guys to the special teams. And
that can be happen on any team. But my point is, when people think special teams, they think that is the only guy that is responsible for every part of special teams. That is not the case. Every coach, usually outside the quarterback coach, is part of special teams.
I get that. But that's not how Urban says it was for him.
Well, it was, because I know coaches that were on his staff that were part of the special teams.
Well, then I'll just say that's not what he says on the show. He's not quit. Well, that's how he ran his team.
Brian White, Brian White was his running back coach. I coached his son at Buchholz. This is my quarterback. Mm-hmm. He helped coach special teams. I know that's for a fact.
That's fine. They help. But the guy who was a decision maker on that was the head coach.
I agree. Yeah. So we're saying the same thing.
Well, he said it doesn't. There's a face we can put on it, and there's not a face we can put on it at Florida. And there's been major problems. What?
Chris Couch.
Yeah,
Chris Couch is a special team.
How much do you think? How much influence do the game changers have? Chris Couch is a game changer. Not much. Constantly made mistakes.
I'm just saying he is the special teams coach, and every other coach that is paid by the University of Florida is part of special teams. Urban Meyer was the head coach. He was the final say on special teams. But every coach that coached under him was part of special teams. So we're saying the same thing.
But Chris Couch can't say to Ricky Pearsall, I want you on special teams.
Why can't he?
Because he ain't got the power to get him to do that. He's assistant coach.
So this is how it works. You sit at a boardroom table when you go over personnel decisions. It's the same thing on offense. The receiver coach says, I want to start these guys at receiver. So then the guy that's in charge of the offense, your offense coordinator, says, okay, I'm okay with that, but I may want to put this guy in there. And it's the same thing with special teams. If he wants Ricky Pearsall to return punts, he's going to mention it. And then the head coach can say, I don't want him there, or I do want him there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We disagree on that.
I mean, that's how it's worked on every team that I've been a part of for 30-something years.
Okay. Let's move on to other subjects. I have questions. Andy McIntosh says, ask Shane who he thinks will win Spurrier's first-year coach award. Jeff Brom, maybe?
It'll be Jeff Brom or Jamie Chadwell.
Okay. Speaking of coaches, I saw Bubba Spurrier's name thrown out there today, since they have an opening now at Duke with Mike Elko going to A&M, which is a thing to talk about. Would Bubba get a chance at Duke?
I'd like to see it. I don't know, but hopefully he'll get an opportunity.
Yeah, I'd like to see it too. He's coached others some pretty good coaches. What about recruiting? And people want to know, how about these two guys who are very well connected to the recruits, Spencer and Brewer? What's that going to do to recruiting? And, of course, will there be any fallout from the current class of guys they recruited?
I mean, it could. I just think recruiting is different than it used to be. It's about guys who are recruiting you, who have a relationship, but it's also about how much money have you agreed to.
Yeah. That's a factor for sure. That's a factor. All right, so Shane, as we go down the road, we're going to see coaching changes. We're going to see, in my opinion, more of the emphasis on the portal because they've got a good class coming in, but who knows if that will hold together and how many of them can start tomorrow. Speaking of which, tell me what you think of the quarterback pecking order. You think it's Mertz, Lagway, and Brown?
Well, we don't know if Graham Mertz is going to come back. He has the opportunity to go to the draft. I don't know if he's a graduate guy or could go in the portal, but he played extremely well this year. I don't know if he'd get drafted, but he may want to go in the draft. And I think he's a guy that's going to last a long time in the NFL. He reminds me of Brock Purdy with the 49ers. So he may do that. I mean, you got Lagway supposedly coming in. You got Max Brown. Does he stay around or does he want an opportunity to go play somewhere else? See if he wants to go in the portal. So we don't really know anything until probably January of what the roster may look like.
Here's a little note there from J&J Trucking about a guy who played pretty well, Cam Jackson. He might come back next year. Encouraging by that?
Yeah, he was a good addition. I mean, I guess he can go pro. I don't really know. He came out of the portal. But he lost his D-line coach. I don't know what his relationship was. So does he go to the portal or does he go? I don't know. I got to figure out if these guys are graduates or not.
It's hard, Shane. It's really hard.
But he may want to go put his name in the NFL draft. Who knows?
Yeah. Let's see. He is if I can find his name in alphabetical order. It's about so small you can't hardly read it. I'll look it up and tell you what year it says he's in. Anyway, all right. So Shane, let me do this. Let me play this spot and talk about basketball for a second, and come back and let you give me your take on the three changes that you want to see most at Florida under Billy, and the odds that Billy will be here all next year. If you're making odds in Vegas, what are the odds he would survive the season next year? Okay. Think about that for a second. Interesting. I know what you think. Let's see what everybody else thinks. By the way, here's the news right there. For those who didn't see it, obviously, Coaches Fired. We'll begin to expand more on that later. Let's see if we can get our Meldon Law spot up here and running. And here it is, Jeffrey Meldon. Jeffrey Meldon, a lot of people are pretty excited about this basketball team. And Mm-hmm. Jeffrey Meldon, a lot of people are pretty excited about this basketball team, and the performance against Florida State and other games that they've had since really have put Florida squarely on the map. And this is a new bunch, very exciting players. I know you get a chance to watch them up close there. You sit right in there, right next to the coach. I got a feeling you're whispering plays to him, Jeffrey.
Yeah, well, it's really fun because I've been going to the basketball games for 35, 40 years now. And being able to sit in the front row behind the coach is kind of cool because you see him diagramming the plays and everything. Plus, you get to see the players. You know, these are young kids, 18 to 22-year-old kids. And I'm so impressed with the Gator basketball team.
Fun to watch. They got some good players, a lot of new names. Go and check them out. I was really impressed with what they did against Florida State. And some big guys, and they put the hammer down the Seminoles. Good start. Let's hope it's going to be an interesting season. If I don't talk to you again, have a happy holiday season. Jeffrey, look forward to a great 2024 and being together with you and your wife to celebrate some special occasions.
Yeah.
All right, Meldon Lowe. They won't back down. Check them out for your latest needs. If you have a case under review or a case you're not happy with, you can call them up and they'll give you some free advice. Shane. Cam Jackson, by the way, is a junior. So he has another year of eligibility. All right, you have the ball in your court. You're able to make 3 changes for next year's Gator football team. What are they?
3 changes?
Mm-hmm.
You mean personnel-wise?
Whatever you want to, yes. Personnel, I'm talking about coaches, anything you want to make. Athletic director, I don't care, whatever you want to do.
I would probably make some changes in the weight room.
Mm-hmm.
I would make some changes offensive line. And I would make sure we threw the ball deep 6 times a game.
Okay. As you said the other day, we're talking, I guess, at lunch. You sat at the press table. You didn't. By the way, congratulations. I didn't even congratulate you for your award, Shane, Hall of Fame and all that. And you were honored. And then you never thought to say that to you. You were sitting there with all the big writers. And they were talking to you. And you talked about throwing deep and how safe it was.
It's so safe. It's the best play in football because 90% of the time you can get pass interference in the first place. And we saw that happen against us Saturday night.
I saw a phantom pass interference. I still don't understand what it was.
Yeah, but that's the thing is leave it in the official's hands. You're probably going to get pass interference.
I don't know. Do you think the ACC officials called a decent game?
Oh, I didn't have a problem with the officials.
Okay. Well, I just thought it was some very bad calls, a couple of them. And I'm not just being a homer here. I think a lot of people thought the same thing. Probably some comments about that, as a matter of fact. All right, so those are your changes?
Well, I mean, we already had some changes on defense.
Right.
So I kind of eliminated that side, but we got to make some changes over there along. Oh, and I forgot some type of special teams change as well.
Yeah, okay.
So that would be take my deep balls out and just keep it as from a functional coaching issue.
All right. What having seen a full game, a starter here, now Max Brown, what kind of a player do you see there so
far? Max is, I don't know. He won't ever start a game again at Florida if anybody's healthy. Nothing against him. He's not an accurate passer. And I think you saw that taken away the things that he did against Missouri because they had tape on him. He's a little bit limited.
Okay. I'm sure you talked about this morning some of the games over the weekend. How about that Alabama-Auburn game, the play that they ran at the end? Unbelievable, Shane.
Yeah, I mean you could run that play 300 times and might complete it 1 out of 300. It was an unbelievable throw by Jalen Milroe, a great catch. And just he threw it in a spot that was about 5 to 6 inches, and he got it in there.
Coaching changes. Mike Elko, surprised?
I think it's a safe hire for A&M. I don't know how excited their fans are,
Who
but
else?
he'll do a solid job. But they ain't winning anything at A&M.
How about the Mark Stoops story?
Yeah, that was
Apparently, he
interesting.
was going to go and then decided to back out when the story broke, and the fans at A&M went nuts. They think they can get anybody they want to, and they did, but it cost them another $80 million. I don't know where you go with that, Shane. I'm not sure who you go after at A&M. I guess it sounds to me like Elko is a very good coach. It's a big leap for him there, and I don't know if he's got the chops or not to do that job. What do you think?
I mean, time will tell. I think A&M sometimes they live in la la land out there
Yeah,
just because they have so much money. I don't know when the last time they won a championship. It might be back when they were in the Southwest Conference. I just don't see them getting over the hump, beating Alabama or LSU.
Shane.
Well, it doesn't matter now because we have no divisions.
Right.
So I don't see them getting over the hump with Georgia.
Right.
I don't see them getting over the hump with Alabama, LSU. Right. I mean, they won 7 games the last couple of years. So
it's a big hump. It's a big hump, but it doesn't matter what division they're in right now, as you pointed out. Shane, what did you finish in the Heisman your senior year?
My senior year, I'm not sure.
Junior year, then.
It was 5th.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Yeah. All right. Now, the LSU is doing a whole website on their guy. By the way, I think I'll probably vote for him, Jaden Daniels.
If he does not win the Heisman Trophy, it will be a crime. It says the most outstanding player in college football or whatever the award is.
Yeah.
And he is clearly the best player in America. I mean, it's not even close. I don't know what these damn people are even thinking about.
Well, they vote 2 ways. They also vote for the team. They figure
you don't vote for it. It has nothing to do with the team.
I know. I voted in it for 45 years. I get it. But there are some people who are of the mind that the best player is on the best team. If you look at numbers, that's not true. I'm with you, by the way. I think Daniels is the guy. Even the eye test, the plays he's made have been phenomenal. The fact his legs are incredible. I think he ought to win it, but, we'll see. Usually speaking, about Thanksgiving is decided. He didn't do anything to hurt his chances, and so LSU is pushing. I wondered if Florida ever thought about giving you a little push. They gave one to Spurrier, Back before they used to do that, Carlson sent out some postcards and things of that nature. Not wildly aggressive, but he did make a campaign and it did help him. So, shame we should have been pushing you for that the whole time.
No, I'm fine without it. But I'll be very upset if Jaden Daniels doesn't win it.
All right, I agree with you on that. We're good. All right, so now I know you got one dude on the show tomorrow. Who else you got on the show?
I actually have Edgar Thompson who broke the news.
He did, yeah.
I think he broke the news, so we'll
he
see.
Did, yes, he did.
Any more scoop for us?
Scoopage, huh? On Pot Up with Mathews tomorrow morning. You won't get it from me, but you might get it from Edgar. I'll still be digging out trying to find who's on the roster for next year. Shane, hope
don't waste your time doing that, buddy, because that roster is not going to be even close to what it is right now.
It won't be good for a day. It changed by the day almost. I think it's kind of an exciting time.
Don't worry about that roster until about July 30th.
Yeah.
When they report to training camp.
Yeah. You think they'll be able to replenish it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping we don't lose a lot of our good players that we have now, but the way the world is today, you probably will.
I have a theory about that. I think I won't bring on Franz Beard and ask him, but we'll let you go. But I think they're going to go mostly all portal now. I really do.
No, I'm talking about the kids that we have on our team.
Oh, you
right
mean the
now.
keeper, the ones you keep? I got you. Okay, yeah, all right. Well, what do you think?
I don't know.
If you were Billy, wouldn't you go after, the players that were more experienced?
I agree. I would go to the portal and try to do whatever I can to upgrade my football team. The problem is the Florida Gators ain't the only team going to the portal.
No, but they're a pretty good team to go to if you're betting on the come, right? It's a pretty good team to think about, I think, at least.
But you're looking at it through orange and blue glasses. You got to
No, I'm
look at
not.
it as
No, I'm not. I'm not. I know it's about the money. I know what you're going to say. I get it.
The money and where can I go win? Or I bet you're going to see some stars from some good teams around the country leave their program to try to take more money and go to a team they think that they can play for a national title. Georgia's starting two receivers are a prime example. Ra Thomas from Mississippi State and Dominic Lovett from Missouri.
So basically, Franz, he's saying we're in the NFL already.
Yep.
Well, it's the wild, wild west out there, and it's free agency.
It's the NFL with no rules.
Any way you want to talk about it, it is free agency. And I got to tell you what, there are going to be a lot of good players in the portal. There already are some really good players in the portal. You look at what's going on at Miami. Tyler Van Dyke, Don Chaney, Corey Flagg, all leaving the program today. I don't know that we'd have any interest in Van Dyke, but he's a quarterback that, goodness, if he gets coached up, what an arm he's got. Don Chaney, gosh darn, he's a hell of a running back. The guy that I like, that Corey Flagg, who's the linebacker, and the exit at Miami is just beginning. You look at there have been three defections already from Notre Dame, including an offensive lineman that I think we're going to have an interest in, Zeke Correll. Marcus Hicks, offensive tackle, leaving Oklahoma. Here's a guy that it wouldn't surprise me to see us make an attempt to pick him up, and that is Treshaun Ward, who is this little scatback type from K-State, and he's from Plant City. So you're going to see a lot of guys like that.
What, Shane?
Friends, I was surprised at the quarterback and that running back from K-State going in the portal, because it's interesting because they've had good year.
Yeah.
But it's the way of the world now.
Money, probably, yeah.
Well, Will Howard, Will Howard is going to be next year's Graham Mertz. He's going to go somewhere, and all of a sudden, he's been good at K-State, but he's going to go somewhere and get really coached up and be better players around him, and he's going to be very, very good.
Well, the portal giveth and the portal will take away. So we'll see what happens. There could be some swappage going on. Shane, I'll see you in the morning. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Good job. Catch up to you. And the great Shane Mathews, by the way,
have a good night.
Another award for Shane. Congratulations. Thanks, Shane.
All right. Good night.
Thank you. Francis, I want you to take a beat here, and I want to give you a little word about our friends over at Titan MRI, and then we'll come back. We have a lot to talk about. I'm going to read you a couple of paragraphs. I don't usually do this. My column was a little bit different this week. You had a very good one, by the way. I sat there in the frigid aftermath of that game. You were down in the interview. I was sitting up there in that open-air press box, teeth chattering, listening to the blaring sound of the Florida State band. Well, to an empty stadium. I thought, what an ignominious way to end the season for the Florida Gators. But, hey, they got a right to crow. They did it. All right, Francis, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get you to come back in. I'm going to take you off Wi-Fi and see if I can keep you from jumping around. Meanwhile, let's talk about Titan MRI. Titan MRI, worth the short drive to Gainesville. No insurance is no problem. You can pay with cash or card. Same-day scheduling, which is really convenient. You can start feeling better today about it because Titan MRI is North Central Florida's premier independent MRI facility. Come see why hundreds of patients from Ocala, Marin County, other areas around Ocala and down in the villages are going there and stepping up and getting their reservation and their appointment in a day's time. That's TitanMRI.com. All right, Francis, you've been in the plenty press boxes. As I sat there at the end, I kind of wrote this down, and I'm just going to mention a little bit what it's like. And I wrote this. It's a cold, dark night, and I'm sitting in empty Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, where the Florida Gators Played before 90,000 people, but the stadium is empty. And we're looking at the postmortems of Billy Napier. But what could he say? Because there really wasn't much he could say, Franz. You were down there. Florida lost his 5th consecutive game, 3rd straight losing season, 2 of them Billies. This is a school that used to dote on national championships. Now those feats seem like they're millions of miles away. It was just a promising opportunity that got away from them, but they lost a winnable game again. Played very well in spurts. We sat there and talked about their defense, played as good as they played all year. They came in prepared, played with purpose, excellence, and you got that 70-yard drive, Martell Johnson going in from 5 years out, and then had that temporary revival of the defense that was lost and saw promising wrinkles for a moment from Max Brown. We forget they were up 10-0 and they led the game with 6 minutes to go. For just, this is the important point, for 1 second, it felt like there was a merged heartbeat in the swamp with the fans and the team, full of hopeful expectations. We thought for a minute that the plague might pass. And the vernacular fans of the Lone Ranger, remember the lead into that and what they said? It was return to us now to yesteryear. And those thoughts were there, but they ain't coming back. So the bottom line is the talent pool is empty now. There's no room in the trophy case for runner-up or consolation prize. You got to go win. They played for 3 2/3 quarters really well, but not enough to beat the talented Florida State Seminoles, which is why they were sitting there at night. Their band was playing to the night with great joy. Well, somebody had some joy because the Gator fans didn't have much. Your assessment, Franz, of how that happened and ended the game.
Well, I'll start with this. The offensive line didn't do its job, number one. And number two, special teams didn't do their job, number two. And you look at what happened with special teams, for example. You missed 2 field goals. The offensive line on one of them, commits a mortal sin to cause that to be a problem. You have a punt return that's 34 yards on which the guy should have been tackled after a 10-yard gain. But, people talk about, he outkicked his coverage. It was a long kick. And the guy had about an 8 or 10-yard run back for sure. But I can tell you this much. There were blunders. There were guys that should have made the tackle there. It should have been like a 10-yard gain. Instead, it's 34 yards. They end up scoring a touchdown on it, on that drive. So special teams, gave up, 13 points in a game that Florida loses 24-15. You make the 2 field goals, all of a sudden it's 21 points right there. You take away the 7 points, it's a 21-17 win. So, buddy, special teams, offensive line, Damian George commits the hold that turns a makeable field goal at the end of the half into a 52-yarder, and then the ultimate insult, Damian George, and I know I sound like I'm picking on the guy, but this guy should be playing guard. He played tackle out of necessity, and he's not a tackle. I can't play the position. He came here to play tackle because Alabama told him, guess what? You can't play tackle. You got to play.
Looks like we lost Franz. We're getting right back in just a minute. Yeah, I agree with you on Damian George. There's a reason he didn't play in Alabama. When you start taking other people's cast-offs, we didn't know that. We thought, boy, you got a lineman from Alabama, and he can play. Franz, sorry you lost you. Get back with you. We thought Damian George was going to be worthwhile, a guy who played for Alabama, and we didn't know that basically we were getting, I hate to say another man's garbage, but he has played awful.
Well, he's a guard, buddy, and that's what they told him in Alabama. That's where he played his snaps at Alabama, was inside. He wanted to play tackle. They said you can't. And so, what can you say? Maybe somebody didn't make the right phone call up to Alabama to ask if the guy is capable of playing tackle or not. But you get what you
That's just one of many mistakes they made, friends. One of many mistakes.
Oh yeah, well, buddy, you look at I go to the offensive line, and I'm going to write about a bunch of other mistakes that led into how did we get to here?
Really?
And I think this is the question that everybody needs to be asking. It's not. I think Billy Napier is the right guy for the job. I really do. But the more I know and delve into this, I'll tell you what. The more I'm convinced that you're talking about a guy that was given a knife to go to a gunfight. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get into it, particularly about how we lost the recruiting momentum that Urban built up by falling so far behind on the facilities. We gave it away, absolutely gave it away on facilities. I'm just.
Is that Jeremy's fault?
Yeah. Well, you got to point a finger where the finger should go. I'll give you the perfect example of how dumb we would have been on facilities. We knew we had to have an indoor practice facility. So what do? They propose a 70-yard indoor practice facility that has no air conditioning and has no room on the sidelines. None. Now, I give credit to Old Yeller on this one. He stomped his foot down and said, hell no. And even then, they had to redo it again because they make a 100-yard facility. And guess what they don't have?
End zones.
End zones. It's 100 yards with no end zones. And guess what else it didn't have? Bathrooms. Goodness, you expect the players to just pee in their pants? The stupidity that we had, in facilities. I mean, I can tell you right now, the comment was made and I've had this verified. The comment was made to more than one person. What? We won 3 national championships with these facilities. Why do we need to upgrade them? Meanwhile, everybody in the world's going out there and getting facilities, and kids are going there. But here, let's go to the offensive line, for example. You've got 10 5-star linemen who've gone to Alabama, 37 4-star linemen who've gone to Alabama, and that's out of the 56 they've recruited, okay? Now, we have recruited over the same period of time, and I'm talking about just from 2011 onward, we have recruited 63 offensive linemen, 4 4-stars. And that includes our 4-stars, that includes Osiris Torrance as a transfer. That includes Keontae Goodwin, who left. You just don't win doing stuff like that, buddy. We only had 17 4-stars. We had 2 5-stars, 4 4-stars.
Why couldn't Rob Sale, the man who had NFL experience, the New York Giants offensive line coach, why couldn't he get better players? You think if you're going to play in the NFL, you want to go play for a guy like that.
Well,
they had 2 of them, Darnell Stapleton. They still couldn't get enough guys.
Well, they had brought in Keontae Goodwin, who was going to be the starter at right tackle, a 5-star guy that came in, and he left home because his mom had cancer, and his mom died very recently. And I think that he's going to, he may come, I hold out hope that he may come back, but I think he'll stay right there in Louisville, which is his hometown. But Keontae Goodwin would have been a starter at right tackle this year. And in the spring, Keontae Goodwin played right tackle. Damian George was going to be an inside guy. And so, you bring in, I think that the O-line, you look at the injuries they had. I mean, you couldn't count on Kingsley getting hurt and missing the whole season. And, although I give credit to Jake Slaughter, the last 4 or 5 ball games of the year played extremely well.
He played as well as he could play for a true freshman. I thought he played really well. He struggled again the first part. But, and I thought he did well. You got the max. Thank goodness they had him. What would they have done?
But Austin Barber tried to play with a shoulder injury and finally had to miss the last 2 ball games. Yeah. And you've had a banged up offensive line. But,
everybody has banged up offensive lines.
Yeah,
they all get hurt.
But my point with that is, goodness, you lose so many guys to begin with at the start of the year. I mean, would Kingsley have made a difference at Utah? I think he would have. I really think he would have, because they really struggled with the communication on the offensive line in that game. And that was a game in which, Jake Slaughter was not overwhelmed physically in that ball game. Now, he got overwhelmed a couple of times early on, but he came on strong and changed around. But in the Utah game, Jake Slaughter had communication problems. First time he'd ever been in a live stadium with lots of noise, and there were communication issues, and the offensive line struggled because of that. Florida was not overpowered on the offensive line that game. Florida was beaten because they had bad communication, and the blocking was never ever right. So, I'm not trying to make excuses for them. They struggled. The depth was not there. There was not the quality depth. Now they've got young kids like Roderick Kearney, who and Najee Harris, who they think are going to be real studs. They've got a kid named Chris Williams, who's in the initial class, who's going to be really, really good. I'm looking at who they've gotten here in the last couple of years. This kid, Caden Jones, who Billy signed, who's 6'8" and 330. Had to come back. They redshirted him this year intentionally because they wanted him to get his knee really, really strong. He's coming back, and he's going to be an absolute stud. So they've gotten some good recruits in, but they've got to come. They're going to have to go to the portal, and I think they'll go for anywhere. I think the minimum they're going to get in the portal is they're going to get 3 offensive linemen in the portable. I think they could use 5 guys with experience. And they've already got some guys that that are very interested in coming here, as I understand.
Well, let me stop you right there for a second, because Shane and I had a disagreement. We talked about being in the portal and having a chance to improve your team, and he said, why would anybody want to come to Florida? Now, look, I get money is an issue, but I also get that if you're going to go someplace, there are worse places in Gainesville to go. I think it's an asset. The fact that they haven't been losing could be viewed as, I have opportunity. I can get to play right away, So I think Florida is still a good destination recruiting site, and I think it can help them on that. Money will have to help. But those wells are going to go dry pretty soon, friends, if they don't get some wins. The NIL money is going to dry up. So what do you think about that?
I don't think the NIL money is going to dry up, buddy. The question isn't that NIL money is going to dry up. That's not going to be the question. The question is going to be, do we have as much as the Longhorns and the Aggies in Oklahoma are going to spend? And you already got Alabama and Georgia spending at record levels, and Tennessee too. You got and throw in LSU. So you got 7 schools that I just named that all have lots of money. Now, think about this too. Arkansas has got a lot of money, and it's oil money too at Arkansas, not to mention what you got from the Waltons and the Reynolds Aluminum people and the Tyson Chicken people. They got billionaires out the wazoo who are backers there, but they got big oil money too. Oil there, oil Oklahoma, oil to the 2 Texas schools, oil in Louisiana. Plus you got Georgia and Alabama who just seem to have print money. They've got so much of it. But that's 7 programs who are poised to outspend the Gators. I don't think our money's going to dry up. My question.
Well,
is,
let me
Shane,
say this.
are
I
we
know
gonna
for a
find
fact, a couple of the big money guys have told people that they've already committed their money to these players and they're getting tired of spending money and not getting results. So it is there. It is a factor. It's not about who's got the biggest bankroll. All right, let's move on to something else in the final minute. Looking back on the season, you covered every game. When Spurrier always says you have to win the close games. Florida did not win the close games. Had they won the close games, we look at a different story. Going through the season, obviously, they had a chance at Utah, but it wasn't that close. They won the close game against Tennessee. They lost to Kentucky. They won the close game at South Carolina. That was a big win for them. They lost the close game against Arkansas, which they shouldn't have lost. They lost the close game against Missouri. They lost
LSU was close going into
it. Was the final score didn't look that well, but you're right, it was closer. It was 52-35 final, but it was closer than that. And then FSU Florida was 24-15. They were up in the game with 6 minutes to go. So there's 4 close games right there they lost.
They should have won 3 of the last 4. They should be at 8-14. You and I both said that this both thought this was going to be an 8-14.
Yeah, we were wrong. And Shane did too.
And I admit I was wrong.
Me too.
Wrong. But I'll tell you right now, going back to where we were, I'd still pick 8-4. At some point in time, you think you're going to win the close games. And there's an old theory out there, and I can't remember who said it, but said that the next step is this. You have a couple when you're transforming a program. You play well enough to win, but you don't for a couple of seasons. Then all of a sudden you start winning close ball games. We used to complain about Charlie Pell. If you remember, Charlie Pell came here and had all the talent in the world. But Florida didn't really take off until the 84 season, where he was fired after 3 games. Florida went 9-1-1 that season. But you look at the season before that, when they had loads of talent, including Wilbur Marshall on that team, and you still had the 3 stud running backs, and you got Wilbur Marshall, and you got Wayne Peace and Bob Huco on that team. You got all these guys that were left over, and they went 8-3-1, and they lost the close games. And the year before that they lost the close games.
Yeah.
So the question is, when you take that next step, the next step is you got to start winning the close ball games.
Right.
When the Gators start doing that, I looked at it, buddy. They had 25 ball games. I think right now there is every good chance that with a break or 2 here and there, a block or whatever, a lack of somebody that didn't commit a penalty here or there, they could be 19-6. They're close enough, but what's that old saying? So close and yet so far away.
Close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Pepper Rogers said that, by the way. Let's bring this guy on. He was a lot more hopeful than his quarterback guy was playing. Shane Mathews just said he didn't play very well. Brendan liked Max Brown. Shane, Franz, how did you think Max Brown played?
I think he played like a redshirt freshman, making his first start against a really quality ball club. That's a grown man defense he played against, and he's a redshirt freshman there. And I talked to Max on the way out of the stadium. I had an opportunity to talk to him on the way out of the stadium, and just a minute.
Go ahead.
That's Max calling right now.
There you go. It's Max calling. He wants to know what's going on.
There we are. He had, and he admitted after the game, he said that they showed him things that he had never seen before. And it's one thing to see these things on film and know what you got to do. It's another thing to actually get out there and do it. And he played like the redshirt freshman. Now, that being said, he didn't throw an interception until late in the game. He was under constant duress in the second half when every time he went back to throw, it was an adventure because the offensive line couldn't block anybody. He didn't do anything to embarrass himself or the university. He played as well as you might expect a guy that was making his first start in a big game.
Brendan, you're on the sidelines. How did it look to you down there?
It looked like that the offense and they were moving the ball and things were happening, and all of a sudden, much like I felt that's happened all year, is like everything went to small ball, conservative, starting to, take care of a lead that, what we saw in Tennessee, what we saw in a lot of different games is like, why defense is playing. I think Billy said defense is playing lights out and they were stopping people, whatever. I just felt like the play calling changed everything. We're trying to establish that hardcore smash mouth run game. I don't know. I just think these are things that would not happen with a good offensive coordinator. I think we've talked about this ad nauseum in the past. I think Max Brown is good right now at one dimensional at the read option. That's where he was. That's a success because he's not had enough playing time. And I felt like a lot of the plays that we saw in the second half were Graham Mertz plays. Line up with the shotgun, pocket passing. It's stuff that he's just never done before, and he's not going to be able to do that. And like we talked with Urban on Friday, Dad, he's won a lot of games. Him and Dan Mullen won a lot of games running that offense because they, when they didn't have the best players on the field. I think Florida, especially after the safety, Florida had the momentum. Things were changing.
I do have to
and I felt like the vibe on the field and being down there, I'm telling you right now, it was that they got this game. That this game, they're going to win this game. It wasn't going to feel like it's going to be a blowout, but they had FSU on their heels. The defense was playing inspired football. And, it just started to go downhill, and we just started to see a lot of conservative play calling and trying to protect a lead that really wasn't there. And we let a pretty average quarterback and a team get back in it when the swamp was electric. And then all of a sudden now you've got the swamp is out of it. It was like, even when we heard the fourth quarter won't back down, it wasn't the most oomphy, won't back down spirited version that we've heard in the past, but they come back and they get, alive. But I don't know. Then you start calling plays that your offensive line can't block for. I mean, Franz has said it for the last 2 days in his articles. You don't have an offensive line. You can't protect a guy 3, 4, 5 seconds back there because they can't, they don't know how to pass block. So you got to get him out in space, and you've got to, let him get vertical with his legs. And he just seemed to lost that opportunity.
All right, I don't disagree with that, but I want to get a point in here before we get too far gone. How could Ricky Pearsall not get the yardage he needed to be a 1,000-yard receiver? I get how coaches get locked up in winning and can't think about that, but that was just unfortunate that Pearsall didn't get his 1,000-yard season, Franz.
He was open the entire night. And, to get the 1,000-yard season, you got to throw him the football. And he was, my goodness, he was, you would have thought he had the plague. He was so open because nobody wanted to get close to him. And it didn't get the ball didn't get thrown his way. And again, what happens there. And again, I'll put this one, and I'm not blaming Max Brown on this, but you're talking about a rookie quarterback who's not used to going through progressions, probably gets a little gun shy and starts thinking, oh my gosh, I better throw it to the first guy I see because otherwise I'm going to get hammered. And I think that's probably what happened there. Maybe what they should have told him was to go in there, lock in on Ricky Pearsall, find him and throw him the football. I don't know.
Maybe so. Looks like Brendan's frozen up there, but we'll call it a night on that.
Cold. It is pretty cold outside, buddy.
Yeah. Give me your final 60 seconds.
I think this is going to be a huge year for Billy Napier. I think he took the first steps tonight by making some changes on his staff. I think there will be at least one more change on the staff itself. I think my over under on the portal is I think there's going to be 15 new players coming in. I think I went through the list last night and I found 13 guys that I think obviously are going to feel the need to leave, and whether that's on their own volition or whether they are told in subtle ways that, you're never going to play here. So if you want to play football, you might want to find a new place. That's saying goodbye without saying goodbye, if you know what I mean.
Well, I know you guys talked about it earlier, but how did losing these two coaches affect recruiting? Because both of these guys were big recruiting guys. They were very popular.
Spencer didn't recruit well. It's one
NFL guy.
He's an NFL.
Well, I thought he was pretty pivotal on some of the players. That's what I was hearing. That some of the guys are coming in, and he did a great job recruiting.
Not that effective. I'm being honest with you. He wasn't that effective. Corey Raymond was recruited.
That surprised me. Corey Raymond surprised me. I had high expectations.
What surprised me was we've had 2 straight seasons, and he is supposed to be the best in the business back there.
And then get a bit better.
It's like Jason Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Marshall, all the NFL scouts say he is a brilliant
He played pretty good in spots the other night. I got to say, he played his best game.
Yeah, but his overall season was awesome.
I know. I'm saying he played well in that game spots.
But if he's being well coached, then why didn't we see dramatic improvement?
There's no doubt about it. You're right.
So we've had 2 seasons when the Gators, everybody goes out for a pass and everybody's open. Now, how's that happen? If you're being well coached, how about that? So you got to make changes. And from what I've heard anyway, is that Corey had 1 foot out the door from the day he got here. He looking for an NFL job. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But you hear stuff these days. At times.
Well, sacrificial lambs, right? They had to. He had to get rid of somebody, and
you don't know whether they might have both wanted out. Who knows? You just don't know.
Well, you don't, and as I said, Corey Raymond. The word from the day he got here was that he was looking to get into the NFL, and who knows? Patrick Toney left for the NFL last year as well, and a lot of guys are like that. They get tired of all the. They get tired of the recruiting. They really do. And they want to go to it's kind of like what Billy Donovan, one of the reasons why Billy Donovan hasn't come back to college basketball. He's in the NBA. Why? Because he doesn't have to recruit. He doesn't have to go
Franz, we were talking to Urban about this the other day, and he says, who was he talking to about recruiting, Dad? And he says, it's not the same as it was anymore with NIL.
He was talking himself. By himself.
He was talking about himself. He was talking about it's not, you don't have to do as much now. Now it's about how much.
Well, and that's true too, is the whole landscape has changed, and a lot of guys, and an awful lot of guys are saying, you know what, I'm going, I can't handle this stuff because it's free agency. You got a lot of guys who are thriving in that situation. The whole landscape of recruiting is changing. The game as we know it.
It's about the portal now, right?
And we've grown up loving is different. It really is.
Top to bottom. Now the game is the portal, right? Now it's the portal's free agency, and these guys are, it's not that recruiting's nothing, but now you get guys that can come in and play right away, you're not developing as much young talent anymore. So they have a little bit more, you have a little bit more, I guess, years under their belt to see what they're worth and what they're not worth to bring these guys in. What are we, days away now from what they're calling the wild, wild west transfer portal season. So it's going to be really interesting, not just for that, but also for the coaching. So as we said,
well, you've got here's the thing I pointed out earlier before you came on, Brendan. You got 7 schools out there that it's not a case of does Florida have NIL money? Florida does. The question is, do we have enough? Because Texas, I mean, let me put it this way: there's
not what I hear, Fran.
There's so much truth in that statement that the only God and the Longhorns have more money than the Aggies. We know how much the Aggies have had, And by the way, here's the situation, real quick, for everybody who's listening on Stoops. They had an agreement with Stoops. Stoops did not back out. The boosters at A&M said, "What? You say we're not an 8-4 program? Okay, you're bringing in a 6-6 guy, so are we going to win 6 a year?" The boosters went up in arms about that, and Elko became the compromise guy.
Texas Ag broke the story on that, and they broke the story that night.
They wanted Dabo was the original guy, and Dabo's buyout is $70 million. $92 million. And the booster said, "Wait a second, that's too much money." And then you come in with Stoops with a $62 million buyout and a 6-6 guy. And the booster said, "Screw that too." If you want to bring in a guy you want to bring in Nick Saban, we'll pay whatever we need. You want to bring in anybody else, then, it's going to be proportional. Aggies are interesting types, but Florida's got to keep up with 7 schools that have tremendous amounts of money, including Texas, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Arkansas, LSU, all with oil money. And then you got to deal with Alabama and Georgia. And
all right, guys, I got to go here. But Brendan, I gave Franz the last word a while ago. If you want to do a 60-second wrap up, Brendan, go ahead.
Well, I lost you. But there you go.
We got you. Go ahead. We can hear
you.
Oh,
okay. I don't know. I can't see it, but if you can see me, I'll just tell you. I don't ever necessarily like to disagree with Franz. He's far more knowledgeable, I think, about the landscape, than I am, and I'm not disagreeing. But what I hear, at least about the money, is the boosters are drying up. At least not the big money guys, but the boosters are drying up, and that's been happening since the Rashada deal went south. That Condren's really the only sugar daddy that's around, and that that is a problem. Is that that we don't have all this money because a lot of these guys are not happy with the current regime. And I think we're going to see a lot of this sacrificial lamb stuff early on to sort of satisfy that and bring in an offensive coordinator and everything else. It was really a sad.
I think we lost him, Franz. Okay, Franz, I'll get you one more comment. Everybody's talking, I want to know about Billy. What are the odds of him getting fired?
Slim, none, and non-existent. Period.
Even if he goes
he will be the coach. He will be the coach here next year and the year after. After 2025, it's anybody's guess, but he will be the head coach here for the next 2 years. You can take that to the bank.
The great Franz Beard, you can read him at GatorbaitMedia.com, where he writes about 15 times a week. He's on here a lot. Love having him. He's been our partner for a lot of years. Franz, great stuff. Thank you, brother. Have a good night. All right, folks, I want to tell you about my friends at Renstar Medical Research as we wrap up a good show tonight. Boy, big crowd tonight. Glad to see you guys out. Tomorrow night, we'll have our usual Tuesday night crew. David Whitley will join us. We may have Matt Quadraro on the coaching changes. Lauren Meadows will have some giveaways from Spurs Grill & Grill. Lots of good stuff. And Wednesday night, as usual, we'll have the Sweet and Sour, Allie, Pete Wilbur, and David Moulton. So on our Thursday night show will continue to be Ben Troop, Franz Beard, and Lauren Meadows, plus Urban Meyer on Fridays. Good lineup. Thank you, folks, for watching and listening. Thank you for the great Thanksgiving greetings. Appreciate that. Let me say a special thank you tonight to our friends over at Rinstar, Joe Sorrentino and Mary Brantley, who started this company together right out of high school in Fort Lauderdale. Been a great staple of downtown Ocala. They're heavily involved in our community. They do really good things for folks here. They sponsored this program for a long time. They also have a high-quality, patient-centered clinical research facility here in Ocala with cutting-edge clinical research trials in areas like dementia, Alzheimer's, psoriasis, osteoarthritis, fibromyalgia, and many of the conditions that affect us right here in our community. Since their inception in 1998, Rinstar has participated in more than 700 clinical research trials, continue to partner with prominent pharmaceutical and biomedical companies throughout the medical industry. Log on to rinstar.net, find out how you might qualify to take part in that terrific clinical research facility over they've got. Rinstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Thank you to our guests, Shane Mathews, Franz Beard, Brendan Martin, and thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Have a great night, everybody. We'll back at you tomorrow. Same time, same station, right here on The Buddy Martin Show.